Shihab Ritansi, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Reza Marashi is a research director at the National Iranian American Council. He joins us live now from Washington. Thank you for being with us. Now, stopping Iran from building a nuclear bomb has become, of course, the defining challenge for both Obama and Netanyahu, yet they've approached it completely differently. Do you see this speech as the big collision course that is certainly being made out in the American media?
It's certainly the latest collision course. It's not the first, and in all likelihood it won't be the last. But the reality of the situation is that you have an Israeli prime minister who is directly inserting himself into a domestic American political debate on an issue relating to war versus peace. And that's a decision that should be made by the American people and the American government alone. No foreign leader should be inserting himself in that debate. Also, however, you have this Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu pulling the United States into his domestic political re-election campaign in Israel. So it's a very toxic situation, very unprecedented and reprehensible across the board.
Well, as you know, it's been reported that many high-level people within the Israeli intelligence service, Mossad, have said that the intelligence on Iran's nuclear capability is nothing like as alarming as the Prime Minister, the Israeli Prime Minister, is making out. Yet now they are saying that they have something new that is going to prove that that's not the case. I mean, you're obviously skeptical of that. Tell us why.
Well, I think it's very telling when dozens, if not over 100, former Israeli security officials have come out against Netanyahu giving this speech in Washington, D.C. I think it's very telling when top-level Israeli security officials come out and say that he is overblowing the Iran threat and not putting enough focus on the Palestinian issue. These two things in tandem go to show that Prime Minister Netanyahu himself, there's a disconnect between him and the Israeli people. And we'll see when the Israeli election comes about whether or not the moves that he's made to put a strain, if not weaken, the U.S.-Israeli relationship, at least in the short to medium term, will have consequences and repercussions.
And at the same time, the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is going to be in Switzerland for talks with the Iranians, along with the other international negotiators, trying for this framework agreement before the March deadline. How do you think that's going to play out?
Well, I think this upcoming trip to Switzerland is going to be used to try and make sure that more progress is made, building off the momentum that we saw last week in Geneva and prior to that in Munich. Progress is definitely being made. In all likelihood, there will be another round of negotiations after the talks that take place this week, and that's really going to be the defining moment. This round is the penultimate round. The following round will go from mid-March until the end of March if necessary. But I think they're getting close, and that's another reason why you see the Israeli Prime Minister coming to Washington to try to put the brakes on the deal as best he can.
Well, certainly be fascinating to see how all of this does play out. Good to speak with you, Reza Marashi from the National Iranian American Council, giving his perspective there from Washington. Thanks for your time. Here in